Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing common makeup mistakes that I see, how to avoid them, what to do instead of these mistakes, and like how to fix it, tips for a flawless face, stuff like that. I do see these mistakes, again, I keep putting them in quotes because in reality, it's just makeup. You can really do whatever you want. If you want your face to look like this, then go for it. Like, that's all you. You can do whatever you want. If you feel beautiful like that, then that's great. I'm not going to make a huge spiel on you're beautiful the way you are and don't worry about what anyone says and blah, blah, blah. You all know that this video is not that serious. It's just me giving you tips and tricks on how to fix little mistakes here and there. That's all it is. I'm not trying to bash anyone for using any of these makeup techniques or anything like that. A lot of them I've done myself, believe me, and I talk about that in the video. So yeah, I just basically wanted to emphasize on the skin and the face. I really didn't do much on the eyes because eyes is tricky with like mistakes. A lot of people do a whole bunch of different things, so I could have been sitting there for hours and hours explaining stuff. So I kind of kept the eyes super simple, but the face is the main thing that I really wanted to focus on because I feel like that's where I see the most mistakes happening in my everyday life. Like when I go to the store, on Instagram, or whatever, I'm like, The thing with makeup that I love so much is that it can really, really enhance your features like so much and just take your gorgeousness level to like 1,000. Or if you like do the wrong thing and like play with your features but like play them down a bit, it can really make you look a lot different and in a bad way. So I just wanted to share with you guys some tips and tricks that I have on how to fix these common makeup mistakes. And yeah, if you want to see this video, then please keep on watching. Okay, so the first super important thing is to prep your skin either with primer or moisturizer or both. I already applied moisturizer to this side of the face, and I'm also priming my pores with this pore erasing primer on the areas that I feel like really need it. Not moisturizing or priming can just lead to enlarged looking pores and dry flaky skin. The most common mistake I actually see is foundation not matching the body. Not the neck, but the body. Kind of like the Kardashians, how they always have like a super orange face but pale body, that kind of thing. It's super important to match your foundation to your body, not just your neck. You can blend your foundation down your neck, but the only thing that's going to do is just match your neck. If your body doesn't match, you're just going to look off and weird. Even if you have a long sleeve shirt on, it just doesn't look right. And I prefer using a beauty blender rather than a brush when really trying to get a flawless full coverage. Just really feel like the beauty blender is foolproof, like anybody can use it and do a really good job. Brushes are a little bit more tricky, and for the other side I'm just using a super dark shade, a shade that's like 2 to 3 shades darker than my skin tone, and I'm going to try and blend it down my neck, but it really doesn't matter because it is not matching my body. And I'm also using a flat top brush, but I'm not even patting it in, I'm just swiping. I've seen a lot of people with like foundation lines and streaks on their face because they do not blend their foundation properly, and it is such a easy mistake to fix. Try patting your foundation in with a brush or using a beauty blender and just pouncing it onto your skin. It really works. So on this side, the good side, I am using a concealer that is 1 to 2 shades lighter than my skin tone and just lightly highlighting my face to create a natural highlighted look. I used to use a really super light concealer, as I'll show you on the other side, one that is like 3 or 4 shades lighter than the skin tone or the foundation that I'm using, and I would literally highlight the crap out of my face and it would just look very unnatural and super dramatic. And I guess that's okay for like a nighttime look if you know what you're doing and how to blend it out, but I used to do this like every single day and it's just not really that natural looking or flawless, and I just feel like the other method works a lot better and just looks a lot nicer. As you can see, it is super light. It's very like contrast. It just doesn't go very well together, and I'm using a brush to blend it out, and it's gonna leave a lot of streaks because I put a ton of concealer on. One thing I see all the time is foundation that is not set and then bronzer and blush and everything put on top, and it just looks really muddy and it doesn't blend well. Please set your foundation. No matter how dry your skin is, just set it a little bit, and definitely tap out your under eye concealer with a beauty blender or a damp sponge before setting your under eye, because otherwise you're gonna literally just set the creases in. You're gonna lock those creases in with powder and it's just gonna look really creasy and caked up all day long. So it's super important to blend that out really nicely before you set it. And again, I cannot stress enough how important it is to set your entire face, your entire foundation with some light translucent powder, whatever you want to use. It doesn't really matter, just lightly set it or even heavily. So as you can see on my good side, I did set it, but on the other side, I didn't. Contouring mistakes, we've all been there. Please try and use a shade that goes well with your skin tone. I have super light skin tone, so I'm using a cool tone contour and really just gently building that up. I'm adding a little bit to my brush and I'm building that up very slowly. It's better to do that than to try and like put a ton on and blend it out. That's a lot harder and it's going to come out muddy and harsh looking. So it's best to just build as you go and use a light hand and not a super dark orange tone shade when you have a skin tone that's fair or light like mine. Of course, go as whatever your skin tone is, but this is best for me. On the wrong side, I'm going to use a very harsh brush that creates really sharp lines, and I'm going to use a super dark contouring shade, and I'm going to try and blend that out as best as I can without even setting my foundation. So this is basically wet foundation, or as dry as it's going to get, and I am contouring on top of that without any powder to set it. As you can see, it does look muddy, it does look really harsh, and it's hard to blend. My good side, I'm using a bronzer that goes with my skin tone, something light but not too orangey, and I'm just lightly dusting that over my contour, just blending my contour out a bit so it doesn't look harsh and it looks more natural and it gives me that cheekbone look that I'm trying to get. On the other side, I am using a shade that is way too dark and orange for me, and I am pretty much packing that onto my face and trying to blend it out again on foundation that is not set. This shade works really well for my skin tone when I am tan in the summer, but right now it doesn't. So again, it's all about skin tone and trying to use shades that go best with your skin. And another thing that you might want to avoid is that bronzer helmet look that people can get with bronzer when they apply it too much on the forehead. Yeah, that's not pretty. So as far as nose contouring goes, I like to do my line on the side of my nose more towards the center and not directly on the side of my nose, if that makes any sense. As you can see here, it is not exactly on the side of my nose, but more towards the middle. This creates the illusion of a slimmer, straighter nose. This is a common misconception because a lot of people like to put the line directly on the sides of their nose. That will do is really just make your nose look wider, draw more attention to any flaws on your nose, such as any bumps like I have. As you can see here, as I'm putting the line directly on the side of my nose, you see a little bump towards the top. That is a little bump on my nose, and that really accentuates it and just makes it look more harsh than it already is. So I try to avoid that by placing the line a little bit more towards the center, and it also just makes my nose look slimmer and straighter. Next, moving on to blush, it really doesn't matter what shade you use as long as you use it correctly, such as a light hand like I'm doing right here. I am just lightly placing that right above the contour, blending it out nicely and just creating that cheekbone effect again. I do not want to place the shade directly on the apples of my cheeks. That creates your face to look more round and kind of defeats the entire purpose of contouring, in my opinion. If you want that chiseled cheekbone effect, you really want to place that above the contour line lightly and not so harshly, and not directly on the apples of the cheek, so that it does create that effect that you're looking for from the beginning. Another thing that you might not think is important to match with your skin tone is a highlighter. I am using a pink light toned highlighter with my skin tone because I have very fair skin. If I use a very gold highlighter, it is just very obvious and doesn't look as natural or as pretty with my skin tone. Same as if somebody was super dark and used a ashy light tone highlighter like I used on my right side, then it would just look very off and ashy and weird on them and not as natural as something more gold and warm tone. So on the wrong side of my face, I'm using a very gold highlighter and applying it heavily. And as you can see, it really accentuates my pores because I didn't set it with powder, I didn't use a primer, and the other side just looks much more flawless. For the wrong side of my eyebrows, I'm using the ABH Dip Brow. This product you can easily make a mistake with because it is a very harsh, thick, like in your face product. I used to actually use this every single day and just make my brows look super bold, which I do love bold eyebrows. I still wear my eyebrows pretty bold, but not this bold, and this is actually what I used to do. And what I realized is that it actually overpowers the face, it takes away from your features, and it just doesn't look as great as if you just toned it down a bit, made it look a little bit more natural with still keeping your eyes pretty bold, but a little more natural, which is why I'm using the brow definer on my other eyebrow and just lightly doing hair-like strokes. I have an entire brow video if you guys want to check that out. I'll link it down below, but as you can see, that one just looks a lot better. So I love overlining my lips. You guys know this, but there's a way to do it where it looks more natural and not so clownish. On the wrong side of my lips, I'm doing it incorrectly. I'm overlining my entire lip, which means I'm going over the line all throughout my lip border. This is not correct. What you want to do is really focus on the center of the lips, right above the cupid's bow and right on the center of the very bottom of your lip. You want to slightly overline those areas, and that will look a lot more natural. When you overline your entire lip and really go above the border, this looks really, really clownish and fake, and you can clearly see that those are not my lips. So on the right side, I am overlining it just slightly right above at the very tip, and I'm connecting it to my original lip line on the sides. Just like I'm doing on the bottom, the very bottom of my lip, I'm overlining it very slightly to get that pouty look, but on the sides, I am connecting it right to the original lip line. Oftentimes when I see an extremely heavy winged liner, it's just unflattering to the person's eye. I feel like eyeliner is a really nice tool. It's a really nice makeup thing to have because you can really play around with your eye shape, but you can also play around with it in a negative way and just really make your eyes look a lot different and not as enhanced as you could, especially when adding a lot of black to your waterline. I just personally don't like it. I don't think that it is flattering whatsoever. And if you're gonna do a super heavy wing, you kind of want to add some falsies or some dramatic lashes, because as you can see, even when I apply mascara to my top lashes, they're kind of hidden by the liner, and I'm heavily applying mascara to my bottom lashes and it's just overpowering the whole look, so it looks really strange. On my other eye, I applied some really natural falsies and just lined the band of my liner and just created a nice simple look to really play with the shape of my eyes and enhance my eyes rather than make it look unflattering. So this is the correct, or the side of my face that I prefer, and this is the side of my face that I don't like as much and the common mistakes that I see. So yeah, I really hope that you guys learned something from this video, and I hope that you found it comical or whatever, and I just hope that you liked it. So yeah guys, that is it. That is everything I have to say. I really, really hope that you liked this video. Please give it a big thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time.